Hi everyone, Cactus 190706 here. Now thank you for taking your time to ask your questions for this video. Now 10 have been chosen and will be answered. Now to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Robert, I'm 25 years old, I'm from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and me and my mum run a small toy business. We sell lots of different toys, ranging from action figures and to Thomas and Friends merchandise itself. From Take and Play to Wooden, Trackmaster, you name it, all of them. I also own 3 Siberian Husky dogs, which I love very much, and I take lots of time looking after them and taking them on their long walks. They need to be walked 8 miles a night, so that takes up a lot of my time as well. Now, lots of you have asked more than one question, but sadly only one of your questions will be answered. But don't worry, I have taken the time to choose the best ones. Right, here it goes. Question 1 by the Blue E2. Which is your favourite special that you've made and why? Additionally, what is your least favourite? Now to answer your question, Blue E2, at the minute my favourite is my most recent, Sodor and the Lost Branch line. It's one special I look at with no regrets, and it just feels so perfect. Before that, my all-time favourite was It's a Wonderful Life. The entire build-up to that special started at the beginning of Series 5, when Percy upset Thomas, and then the A4's arrival as well. Bringing Dominion of Canada and Dwight the Eisenhower to Sodor is something I've wanted to do from the rail engines arrived back in the UK, and I thought the whole payoff at the end was perfect. Now, there are 3 specials I don't like, and they are Gordon's Christmas Carol, Sodor's Long Forgotten Secret, and this will surprise you all, Curse of the Dutchman. Gordon's Christmas Carol was a complete rush. I had to make it with very little time, and looking back on it, I feel it was an insult to a great story. In the previous episode, The World's Fastest Steam Engine, the Mallard arrives in Sodor, and that is huge. The most famous engine in the world arrives on my series, and then of course that then concluded a Christmas. Now years before I started my series, I had always wanted to see a Thomas version of A Christmas Carol, so when I got my series up and running, I thought I would snap up the opportunity and make it. But it couldn't have went more wrong. For starters, I now feel that Gordon was the wrong choice for Scrooge, and I kind of overused the Mallard a bit. Also, a lot of content from the real Christmas Carol was left out, and each ghost part was far too short in my opinion. I now also feel that Duncan would have been a better choice for Scrooge, and the rest of the Skarloey engines would have worked well with the plot as well. For instance, let's look at Peter Sam. He could have had Tiny Tim's role, where he was ill and needed parts. I really wanted to remake this special, but I don't think you fans would have liked the fact that I remade a previous special using the same plot. Now as for Sodor's Long Forgotten Secret, my only regret is Smudger. Bringing him back was a huge mistake in my opinion, and he is an engine who should have stayed in the past. And I feel like that about the real series as well. He was nice for that little brief cameo in Ground Puff, but after that I honestly feel he should never be seen again. Maybe as a generator, if Mid-Sodor is discovered again. There was an original plan for this story, but it will be revealed later. And apart from Smudger, the special was okay. As for Curse of the Dutchman, I hated it. I know it was popular with all of you guys, but I feel that it was my biggest failure. The previous special ended with a huge cliffhanger, and I really wanted Curse of the Dutchman to be a massive sequel, but sadly that wasn't the case. I thought there was too much talking in part 2 between Thomas and the Dutchman, and not enough of the plot carried on. And every time I look at the scene where the Great Witch Engine destroys Knapford Station and derails all the engines. I cringe. It feels awful cheesy. Now let's get to the god of steam and oil. He is one character I would rather not think about again. I was being too over the top when I created him, and it was a moment of madness that I instantly regretted after I uploaded the final part of Curse of the Dutchman. So after that, I instantly X'd him from the series, and I hoped that everyone would forget. Also, I accidentally called Quan Car Silka a few times, so just for the record, they were not two different engines. Question 2 by ThomasFan101. How many steps need to be taken when making models like the Witch Engine? Well, all the Halloween characters are made cheaply. The Witch Engine, for instance, is made of Play-Doh. Yes, Play-Doh. And part of a plastic rubbish bag was used for her cape. The ghosts are made using tissue and Play-Doh faces. I know it's hard to believe, but if it looks the part, you can use anything. Question 3 by Nicholas Montagnino. Were there any episodes of your model railway series that you had to abandon? Thanks for your question, Nicholas, and this is going to take a while because there were lots of cancelled plots. First off, Sodor's long forgotten secret was supposed to be different. For starters, there was supposed to be two main engines, Atlas and Alfred. I had bought two main engines from a seller from eBay, but he emailed me and told me that there was only one left and he had made a mistake. And I searched and I could not find another one anywhere, so main engine was created instead. As for the plot, Atlas and Alfred are identical twins, and both work on the mine with Bertram. Alfred is a reckless engine and one day runs over Bertram's driver, but back in the sheds, Atlas decides to take the blame for Alfred, not knowing that he would get scrapped, but he is hidden like main engine was and is discovered years later. And Alfred is found on the Mid-Sodor Railway instead of Smudger. The plot basically goes the same way after that, only with Alfred in Smudger's role and desperate to keep his secret. Also, before I created Steam Engine, 16 from the Railway series was supposed to have his role and be in the Rise of Steam instead. At the time, I couldn't find a model of 16 spaces, and filming for the Rise of Steam was to start in January to get finished in time for May, so Steam Engine was created instead. Just think, if I would have obtained that model of 16, he would have had Steam Engine's role the whole way through my series. Now, the plot for the 2011 Christmas special was originally supposed to be where Thomas is invited to spend Christmas at the Cactus Railway. And when he goes, the engines are cross with him because they feel that he abandoned them. On Sodor, however, the bowled-out Diesel arrives to help out, and the Fat Controller gives him a second chance, but he starts causing trouble for the steam engines. On Christmas Eve, Sodor has a power cut, and he is sent to get a new generator on the mainland, but once he obtains it, he decides to bring it to the smelters instead, but Thomas stops him and saves the day. That was the basis of the plot, basically. But the reason why I cancelled it was because I wanted to base a special on Miracle on 34th Street, which is my favourite Christmas film. Now, most recently, last May, there was supposed to be a special called Lady and the Diesel, which was a prequel to Sodor and the Lost Branch Line. Due to shortage of time, most of the special wasn't completed and filmed, but all of the flashbacks from Sodor and the Lost Branch Line were from the cancelled special. Lots more was supposed to be added at that time, but sadly I wasn't able to finish the special. Question 4 by Michael Gillespie. Do you have any other interests beside Thomas and Friends? Oh yes, I love lots of shows. Believe it or not, the soap operas. I like fantasy films as well, and I cannot wait to see the new Star Wars. I'm also a huge Doctor Who fan, and I like the WWE wrestling as well. The only reason why I like Thomas is because I'm such a huge fan of railways. I have been from I was a young child. Question 5 from William Politsky. If your house was burning down and you only had time to grab one coach, truck and engine, what ones would they be? Well, to answer that question, I would grab all my Scar-Loey engines. All my other stuff, the Bachmann Hornby, it's all replaceable. Through time I could buy them again, but the Scar-Loey engines are only one-offs, which I bought from Topka's Vat years ago. They are very special to my collection, and I would protect them the most compared to my other models. Every time I use one of them, I would put them away and wrap them up in tissue paper so they don't get damaged. Question 6 by Callum Fearser Productions 2016. How did you get your YouTube name? Well, I had a hamster called Cactus, and he died on the 19th of July 2006. Yes, 10 years coming this year. It's so hard to believe. So my channel is named after him and the date he died. Question 7 by Mike D57S. Which of the voice actors in the CGI series do you think has the best voices? Now, this is a hard one. Victor's is good, and I think he has a very calm and current voice, and so is Donald and Douglas's. I like their voices in Legend of the Lost Treasure, but my favourites would have to be Bill and Ben. Their voices fit them perfectly, and especially when they argue. Now question 8 by Jeremy Gross. What are your thoughts on CGI Thomas and Friends? Now my thoughts. Well, this goes back way before the CGI series started. From Series 8, Thomas and Friends started to feel different. The plots were different, they started to feel childish, drivers began to vanish and the engines had more power on their own, and characters began to vanish as well, and it got to the point that only the Series 1 engines, along with Emily, were being used. Looking back on it, I have no problem with the Series 1 engines. In fact, they were created by the Reverend Audrey after all, so they should come first before everyone else. But I honestly felt that Emily had been overused. In fact, they basically shoehorned the character into everything, which made me go off her a bit. I get that she's a female engine, and they wanted her to be part of the steam team, but they didn't need to overuse her so much. Now, as for the CGI series, well, I honestly thought it was a breath of fresh air, and really brought Thomas and Friends to life. As good as the models were, they couldn't go on forever, and it was nice to see humans move about, and I loved the voice acting as well. There was a huge problem I had with the early hit series, and that was new characters. This will make me sound like a hypocrite since I sell Thomas and Friends merchandise, but new characters were being created just for merchandise sales. Every time I look at a hit-created character, I see the pound signs, because that's their only purpose. Well, at least it was. Characters like Hank, Billy, and Flora were only appearing once, and then you have the likes of Neville, who has only appeared a few times. I mean, what exactly was the point of these characters, apart from being there to be putting shops to make money? You may not believe this, but if a kid sees a new engine in a store, an engine they have never seen before, they want it. Not because they like them, because they are new engines they don't have in their collections. Let me tell you a little story. When I was about 4 or 5, my mum took me to the local toy store, and at the Thomas department, I saw Culdee, Godred, and D199 hanging on the shelves, and I got super excited and wanted them. I knew nothing about the Railway series at the time. and I had never seen those characters before in my life. And they were new characters that I didn't have, and I wanted them. That's how children work. Now, as a toy seller myself, our business relies on new toys, Thomas especially, and for our benefit, we need these new characters to be made, despite how I feel. Take Misty Island Rescue, for example. It was a horrible movie, and I thought it was total rubbish, and an insult to Thomas and friends. But the merchandise sales from that movie made Christmas 2010 one of our best ever. We sold hundreds of Misty Island sets and Bash, Dash and Ferdinand models, Take and Play, Wooden and Trackmaster. The movie came out in October, so the kids wanted the models for Christmas, which was really good for us. As much as I hate to say this, but over the years we relied on models of these pointless engines for our business. Now let's move on to Andrew Brenner. He, in my opinion, has made Thomas the best it has been since Series 7, and it's nice to have a head writer who was actually a fan and cares about the history of the show itself. If I was going to complain about his series, it would be Henry's personality. Henry is my favourite engine, and I hate to see how badly he's being written. Another thing I dislike is the underuse of the Skarloey Railway. Last year, we had two masterpiece episodes, Duncan the Humbug and Duncan and the Grumpy Passenger. The Skarloey Railway looks beautiful in CGI, and under Brenner's writing, so much could be done with the engines. But they seem to be ignored, and not one Skarloey engine has appeared this series. What I would really like Brenner to do is introduce more British engines. The new characters all serve a purpose now. They all have a role on the railway which they need to do, unlike the previous ones introduced by Sharon Miller, who just appeared one episode and then just disappeared again. But I would like him to cut down on the international engines for a while. There are so many British classes that I would love to see, like the A2 Peppercorns, the LNS Coronations, the Caledonian Single, and many others. I would also like to see a few different diesel classes. There's far too many Class 8s on Sodor at the minute. I would like to see more Class 2s, or even 3s. There's so many different diesels that could be brought to the railway. Apart from that, I love his series, and he has made me a proper Thomas fan again, and Legend of the Lost Treasure was the icing on the cake. Question 9 by 00 Mikey. Which is your favourite Thomas characters? I like lots of the engines, but my all-time favourite is Henry. When I was a kid, he was my favourite looking one, and he has such a nice gentle personality. As I have said before, I hate how he's being portrayed as a card in the current series, because that's not the Henry we all know and love. Question 10 by 15 Mrs. Seahawks. Out of all your original characters like Barney, Tucker, Tornado, the A4s, etc., who is your favourite and your least favourite? My favourite would be Steam Engine. I'm sure you didn't have to guess that. He is pure evil and capable of anything and everything. After every one of his appearances, I promised myself that he would never return and the character would be arrested. But every chance I got, I couldn't resist myself, and even squeezed him in for the tiniest of appearances possible. I am very proud also that I brought life to the A4s. They are my favourite engines, and when I started my series my main goal was to introduce them. I wouldn't say I have a least favourite, but I wish I could have used the Cactus engines more. I originally had lots of plans for them. They were supposed to appear in the cancelled 2011 Christmas special, and I did think about a spin-off at one point. That's all, folks, and thank you very much for taking part. Now, I'm sorry I couldn't answer all of your questions. But you know what? As a special treat, if you ask me some more in the comment boxes, I will reply to them ASAP. It doesn't have to stop here. Ask me as many questions as you want, and I will reply to them. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all soon. Goodbye.